The Bassmasters Hall of Fame. 10 previous winners, and only one has made it to the final session this time around. And that's the main man, B.Duncan, aiming to win this most prestigious championship for the 5th time. Duncan
almost took Cookie's foot off.
The bowls maker and renovator D.McDermott could well have a new client in P.Strutt. Supermax bowls are literally made to measure.
That's sat down. So he's got to get just slightly above it and then curl down. He's close. Bias. That's a super bowl. It really is.
Yes, we've really seen some Super Bowls this week, haven't we? Hello again, Roy Armson. At this stage, fingers crossed, there's still more Super Bowls to come, but I think it's safe to say that this has been the best Bassmasters of all time for so many reasons.
Well, yes, we've had all the shocks, and we've had tight finishes at 2020. Everything's there. It's been tremendous.
And we have a lady in the semi-finals, of course, for the very first time. So let's have a check on who she plays. That's L.Pritchatt against B.Duncan. Before that, though, we're going to see D.McDermott against P.Strutt. There's Dave, 23 from Heswell on the Wirral. Not really been put under any sort of pressure so far this week. And Paul, well, 21-19 against Gavin Parker. It was slightly easier, to say the least, against Kevin Boone. And then against Glyn Cookson, well, he literally blasted Cookie out of the tournament. So it's McDermott against Strutt. Strutt is leading by 19 chalks to 17. The commentators are John Bancroft and Brian Brett.
1917. There's the trophy, standing glistening in the sunshine of the Ricks Hall here in Blackpool. That and a £7,500 first prize, a record in the game, and an invitation back next year to whoever wins it. Dropped short. But McDermott really has to get in at this end. It's 19-17 against him. Go on, they shout. Run on, run on. Got it right. That's a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's a good ball from David there. About 6 inches at the back of the jack.
It's a pressure bowl, John, isn't it? You're out there, you're tense, you're taking in the crowd, you're taking in everything.
I'm sure it was at the back of Paul's mind there. He'd love to strike and get rid of that, but his own ball is just too far away. If he does remove it, I'm sure he's going to think David's going to put another one.
Slightly narrowing away, isn't it, on there? So still one to Dave McDermott. Oh, he's left that one short. Surely never got it away. Looking down in annoyance at the turf, and a little bit of rough land that he caught, and he counts just one.
He did get it away bad, that ball, but it did take a terrible jump, 4 or 5 yards out of his hand, and it gave it no chance of reaching the end.
But David McDermott has the jack. 18-19 against him, and he's actually got to what he wanted, hasn't he? He's been jockeying for the corners for a long time, and he's got a fair distance to go at this one. Finger peg more. Needs a lead, not got a lead really.
Disappointed with that, and Paul's changes.
Has he changed? He's gone thumb, hasn't he? Turned over. Yeah. Loads of room to come round. What he doesn't want to do is overplay it, because it's going to go with the peg and stay on.
That's exactly right. That's just what held it there. The peg at the end of the ball, just working, just stopped the running a little bit, and it just held it on the edge.
Well, it's not bad now, is it? It's about a yard through, so this is important. He's put some running into this.
Dave's got to be careful. He's not too far with this.
He might just need a connection. He needed that. Has he moved it enough? We need to know from referee Terry Ashcroft whether that has won it. It has won it as it stands. Is he going to strike?
I don't think so.
No, he's going to play up because he thinks he can beat it. There's a lot of room, but then again, it's easy to call him from here. He's after this. Watches anxiously, asking the bowl to stop. Oh, it's gone through. Will it stay on? It's how many? It's just the single short, isn't it? We're waiting for the players. Yes. I think they're going to take that one out as the winner. Single. P.Strutt could have won it that end, didn't. Still a chance. Dave McDermott. $18.20, but off the footer. 20-18, because with the jack is Paul Strutt, the great striker, and he's not struck all that many times in this particular game. Lead just a shade through.
It's not a bad lead, it's 2 foot. He's just got some daylight there. He can see the jack, which is always a help when you're trying to beat a ball that you can see your target.
Right, but what about this gap? Just run through. Paul Strutt needing just the single. Just 1 point to take him through to the final. This battle between 2 young bowlers. Lots of tension. Anxious time. This is a better bowl. Now beat that, he says. You beat that, or I'm in the final. Dave McDermott, everything against him. He's turned over. He's going with a little bit of trying here of control weight, and it's gone through. It's taken 1 bowl out, but he only needs 1. Paul Strutt has done it, as D.Duncan has done twice before, gone all the way to the final. Handshake with the referee, but the important thing, a handshake with Dave McDermott, and wife and Kitty are loving it all because Dad is in the final of the Bassmasters 1996, having beaten Dave McDermott 21-18.
Catch Supercuts at Electricity Plus. But hurry, after Monday, it'll be too late.
Nice one, veterinary.
Here is a painkiller that has the strength, the extra strength you want. It's the painkiller in Panadol Extra. Yet while it helps overcome pain, it's gentle on you and your stomach. Panadol Extra. Strong on pain, gentle on you.
New Bird's Eye Crispy Chicken Dippers, made with succulent chicken in a light crispy coating.
Bird's Eye Crispy Chicken Dippers! Well, everybody's heard about the word. The Bird's Eye Chicken Dippers, the word. I say the Bird's Eye Chicken Dippers, the word. What don't you know about the word? It's chicken dippers, ain't you heard? I say the Bird's Eye Dippers, the word. Dip,
Only chicken worth dipping passes the Bird's Eye.
Quick Save, cutting the cost of shopping.
Beauty. From the first time you use it. Organics Root Nourishing Shampoo.
Isn't it strange? For years we've demonstrated how to create the perfect mint with pure white smoothness, sublime shape, and the refreshing cool air supplied by the whole. And yet other mints still model themselves on the bit Polo remove. Polo, the classic mint.
Oh, we are looking sporty this morning.
Yes, Catherine wants me to play her brother. She thought he'd benefit from my expertise.
Hang on a minute. From the look of that racket, you haven't played in years.
Yeah, but a real sportsman never loses his touch.
It was good of you to let him win.
That's always been your problem. Generous to a fault.
The new Renault Megane, from £9,995 on the road. It talks your language.
Welcome back. So no final appearance for Dave McDermott this week, but he's earned a lot of friends this week, Roy, hasn't he? Great ambassador for the game, nice lad.
Yes, and I think the experience he's had this week will stand him well in the future.
Now, what about P.Strutt? Call him the Demolition Man. I mean, this guy, striking power is phenomenal.
Well, we did warn people early on in the show, and I think Norman Fletcher's lost his title as the best striker in the game.
Right, we'll see how he gets on then in the final. Now, what about L.Pritchatt, the first lady ever to reach the semi-finals of the Bassmasters, beating Ronnie Lyon, Carl Armitage and David Walker quite comprehensively. But she has got the mammoth task right now, taking on B.Duncan, the game's #1, the main man, as I said before. Wayne Phillips he beat, Andy Cairns and Bob Hitchin, all very dramatically, I have to say. Right, Duncan leading 17-14, the commentators Roy Armson and Hugh Johns.
It's all on the day, of course, is what Brian would tell you about this match. And doggone, he's about right. At the moment, he's 3 chalks better than the lassie from Birmingham.
He hit it now.
Well, he gave that block a fair old clout. Cutting away, needs a little wick. I wonder.
You're on. Duncan, no, he was that.
Who's on?
Brian's in, yes.
Well, he's certainly on now. Yet again, a bowl of delicate quality and an enthusiastic, packed audience around this green. Absolutely enthralled with this match. And looks like a double.
What about me?
And Brian able to enjoy just a little bit of banter, cross banter with the crowd in the VIP tent.
2.
As you would expect for a bowler of his quality, who now has a 5 chalks lead, needing 2 for yet another final appearance. This man who has been to every single one of the Bassmasters Classic tournaments since they started, and been into 5 finals, won 4 of them. Looking at the moment as though he's on his way to yet another one. But L.Pritchatt, still the chance to make an upset here. Must be getting to it a bit now, I would have thought, Roy.
Yes, she's beginning to feel that it's going out of reach. Brian's got another good bowl coming here, very, very close. She's got to be 2 yards through at these bowls. That's her only chance.
Well, he's holding game here. If this bowl doesn't do anything, it's gone out. And so has L.Pritchatt after an incredibly brave and fine performance in this year's competition. She took 2 men out, but once she came up against the greatest of them all in the game, B.Duncan, she had to give best. And the great man, B.Duncan, is in yet another Bass Classic final, where he'll be playing P.Strutt. And I'm wondering if it's going to be a game of the sort of quality that Brian has been producing so far in the tournament. Lynn, the first lady to reach the semi-finals, finally had to get out.
Very well done indeed, Brian. I'm not kissing you, no. Unlucky, Lynn. Well done, Brian. Once again, tough match, but in a different context to the previous ones.
It was a tough match. I mean, she's played superb this week. I mean, like I just said in the semi-final before, I said if she played like she played the last game, you know, she'll probably win it. But I think she's led better than me. But having said that, I probably played a lot better behind her jack and just contained her to stopping her getting a break.
Well, Lynn, if it's any consolation, you've been beaten by the best in the best tournament, and you got to the semi-finals. That's terrific.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he's #1 player, Brian, and it's an honour to play him, and you know, to get 14 against the #1, he's not bad going, but he deserves to win. I hope he goes on and wins it now.
Were you more nervous today because it was Brian and it's finals day? I mean, it's the day everyone wants to reach.
That's right. No, it didn't bother me so much, really. I mean, I played well in the quarter-final, and I can keep that up. You know, it's another game, a different opponent, and I enjoyed the day and enjoyed the atmosphere. It's been great, yeah.
I don't know quite how to phrase this question, Brian, but I know for the lads, they're not overly keen on playing the lasses because defeat can be a bit embarrassing.
Well, it can really, but I mean, you just got to go on and play them, because we'll just take an example of Lynn. She's absolutely played superb this week, and you've just got to treat them with respect, because there's some good players.
You've got to treat them like just a bowler.
Oh, that's right.
Forget the lady bowler tag, just a bowler.
I mean, obviously the men don't like playing them, because if they get beat like when you go off the green, they're going to get ribbed in that, but I mean, you've got to accept that. I mean, who can complain if you get beat with Lynn this week, with the way she's played?
Well, thanks again, Lynn. Let's hope we see you again next year. Brian, we'll see you very shortly. The final of the 1996 Bassmasters is coming up after the break. P.Strutt against B.Duncan.
The body is new. The body is power. Is strong. The body is.
If you think that's strong, Chuck, try lifting one of these. Hey, Tarquil, are your trolleys on right way round?
New Manchester Gold from Boddington's.
The time's come for Ian to retire. We'll miss that buzz every morning wondering what time he'd appear. So the traditional clock seemed appropriate. Like many retiring folk, he's planning to go abroad. But unlike most, he's off to ride the Aussie surf. As if he hadn't have made enough waves here. Amanda.
Why take risks? It's so easy to get American Express Traveller's Cheques from the Royal Bank of Scotland. American Express Traveller's Cheques. No runaround, just a more relaxing holiday.
I don't know whether you're a male chauvinist, Roy, but you have to say that L.Pritchatt struck a great blow for the ladies' game today, and this week, all week.
Yes, not just the fact that she's played the fellows, but I think what's impressed the players is that the manner in which she's played the green, because it's been full of all kinds of tricks this week, and she's mastered it really well.
Talk about striking, we got P.Strutt against B.Duncan in the final. Quite an interesting combination that's going to be, isn't it?
It certainly is, because Brian plays a long way, and it'll demand the utmost precision from Paul in his striking, but it's going to be a very close game.
Well, we've seen a lot of close games this week. let's hope the final's going to be another one. Let's have a look at the two. Paul has beaten Gavin Parker, Kevin Boone, Glyn Cookson, and in the semi-final he disposed of Dave McDermott. Brian Duncan came through against Wayne Phillips. That was tight. Andy Cairns, that was tight. Not quite as tight as the one against Wayne. Robert Hitchin, that was desperately tight again. And L.Pritchatt, well, expected, shall we say. So we have the final coming up very shortly, but let's enjoy some of the fun and the flavour of the top Crown Green bowling event in the country at the country's top holiday resort. Well, we've had a lot of fun, but ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the main event. The final of the 1996 Bassmasters, and to the winner, a record cheque for £7,500. Well, let's meet the finalists. First of all, from the top half of the draw. Remarkably, his father was a finalist in our inaugural tournament back in 1982, P.Strutt. He hasn't won it. Who knows? Maybe his son Paul can go one better this afternoon. From the top half of the draw then, would you welcome P.Strutt? Very briefly, Paul, I know it's a nerve-wracking moment for you, but you were there in '82. Did you ever think that you would get to the final and maybe even beat Dad's record?
Well, in '82, I don't think I'd started playing then, so probably not.
Nervous?
No, not too bad.
Prospect of playing you-know-who?
Looking forward to it.
Good man. P.Strutt. And from the bottom half of the draw, the legend, the maestro, whichever way you want to put it. Sorry if I'm putting you off, Paul, but he's won this championship 4 times, along with 5 Waterloos. Quite simply, the game's #1 bowler, and he has been for many, many years. Brian Duncan. Well, briefly, Brian, you've been here before?
A few times, yeah. I mean, I've not been here before on this particular green light, but it's been nice to win it really on here.
Never actually won it here at the Rakes, so it would be nice to sort of bury that hoodoo.
It would be, I mean, it's nice to get to the final, but obviously once you get to a final, you certainly want to win it, and just have to get stuck in and see what happens.
Okay, you don't mind if we give Paul the honour of calling? No? Okay, this is half a crown. You weren't born when these were, you know, being spent over the bar, you know. So you can call that, all right?
Head.
Heads, let's have a look. It's tails. Brian's got the block. The referee is David Fishwick, and for those of you at home in the commentary box, we have Brian Brett, John Bancroft, and Hugh Johns.
Thank you, Elton. And this week's work now reaching its climax. And 27-year-old P.Strutt, as we just heard then, he'd have been about, what, 13 years old when his father got into the very first Bassmasters final. And young Paul was so enthused by it that he started playing bowls himself the following year. Brian Duncan, 52 years old, a bowler from the age of 12, now to show us what he's learnt and what has been his magic touch over the last 30-odd years at the very, very top of Crown Bowls. And I'm delighted to have in the box with me a double winner of this superb classic, the Bassmasters, John Bancroft. And immediately, John, how do you see this final conducting itself?
Well, I think it's fairly easy to predict that Brian's going to be heading straight for the corners, particularly the corners he's gone into now, into the pub corner. Those are his favourite corners. And if Paul gets hold of the jack, he'll be trying to play his 25 to 35 yard round peg marks and play them as near as he can, and Brian happens to beat them, knock them off.
Well, it started off fairly predictably. Brian Duncan led the block and went into the corner, scored the first chalk. And Brian Brett, not surprisingly, he's off on his diagonal.
Not surprisingly at all, this is where he does the damage. They've met once before, apparently, Hugh, and that was at Oldham Rugby League Club this season. And young Paul actually won it. He's a great keeper of records, and he certainly has that very high in his list of achievements.
He's had his fair share of triumphs, has young Paul. 94 and 95, I suppose, his best years. City of Leeds Classic, Marston Masters in 94, Mail Brace, City of Leeds Super Classic, and the Tonge Classic in 95.
Yes, he's repeated the Tonge Classic win this year, Hugh, and the Mayfair Cars Open at Stockport.
Paul actually had a purple patch 2 or 3 weeks ago, including that Tonge Classic win, where he won a competition at Oldham Rugby and also another competition in that area. So he's in the middle of quite a good spell at the moment.
Well, we're going to be looking forward to an incredibly tense and dramatic and exciting final. We've had some superb bowling this week on this fine Rakes Hall Hotel green. It's had its vagaries with weather conditions, but it's bowled jolly well, and there's been some superb performances. Let's just hope that this one equals everything that we've seen. Betters it, we hope. Oh yes. I don't think it's counting though. It was a lovely bowl, a delicate bowl from Brian.
I think he's worried. It's just run out, hasn't it?
Yes, just run out.
Yeah.
Paul's got to be very careful what he does with this ball. He'll be trying to get one just round the back, because Brian no doubt will be playing for that jack to try and run it for 2.
Well, it's there to be done. Oh, that bobbled a couple of times. Has it taken it off its running edge? No, it hasn't. He's got it. There you are. I mean, that's the quality of this Van Duncan. Gosh, how do you play against stuff like that? Immediately into a 3-2 lead.
And immediately into the corners, of course, Hugh is going to stretch this right towards the scoreboard as far as he dare go. The bookies are in a bit of a spot over this one, Hugh. They're offering 4-6, Duncan to win, which is quite a decent price, but they want to get out on P.Strutt because Paul is a big loser for the bookmakers.
Well, this is difficult, Mark, because the finish is basically all uphill. It doesn't look it, but it is. And you've got to really push it out to get up that hill. And both of them have fallen into the trap and are well, well short of the block. That's missed the line entirely, and Brian is very unhappy with himself. Great chance for Paul, who's gone in a much, much tighter line. And that road, if he can get past, oh dear. Now, I think he's promoted the... Oh, he might have promoted his own bowl forwards.
There might be a pegging job on here.
Yeah.
They're quite a way off the jack, aren't they?
Yeah, it's...
Thanks, please.
Well, they can always put the feet in, well, that's frowned on. It's an official measure. Husband and wife team, isn't it?
Yes.
No, just the one.
Yes.
These two.
The Ashcrofts, Terry and Mary.
Touching, Terry.
Come on, Mary. Aye.
Touching.
Strutt, one.
1 to P.Strutt. So, 4 ends of bowls played, 6 chalks on the board, evenly distributed. Paul will be going for marks in general terms within his striking range.
If necessary.
What a beautiful lead.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more running. Now Paul will have to watch out here he doesn't set too much of a target for B.Duncan. Oh, that's gone way off the road.
Well, that doesn't help at all.
Only one.
Now, is Brian going to have a wallop at this?
I wouldn't be surprised, and don't underestimate
Engine
Brian's
up, behind the
striking. He's
jack.
one of the best strikers around as well.
Not got a great target, has he?
Yep, he's going to have a crack. Oh, that didn't miss by much.
Strutt, one.
Get a Rizzler cigarette paper between that running bowl and the block. Close was that? Let's see.
Coat of varnish.
Thought the draft would have moved the block. So Paul pinched the single there. Well, didn't pinch it, he won it fair and square with a cracking bowl. And 4-3 is his lead. This thumb peg mark just dropping down on a length. What's the running like on that part of the green, John?
Gone. Well, it's pretty medium paced around there. It is fast finishing, but where the jack is, they've not gone quite near enough to the edge to get that extra finish.
Expecting so
Paul's
much.
lost the line there entirely.
Yeah.
That's what you do have to be careful there. You can soon slip underneath with the balls. There is quite a slope down that hill there, and the balls will just soon slip underneath.
Brian's done more or less the same thing.
Strutt, one.
Single will do for P.Strutt. Paul getting here by beating Gavin Parker, Kevin Boone, Glenn Cookson, a former winner, and David McDermott. Road looks about right. That's a fair lead.
That's a good lead there. As you were saying before about the finish of the balls, this area of the green is probably the quickest area on the green, and they will just run out the last couple of yards.
B.Duncan about a yard short. Paul trying to memorize what he did with the previous bowl, and his memory has not failed him one tiny bit. 2 on the dead straight, exactly the same line, and we're going to have another strike from B.Duncan. I think his own short bowl might get in the way. Let's see. Yes, it did. So that's a 2 for P.Strutt.
Strutt, 2.
Always the danger, isn't it, John, when there are 2 counting bowls?
Yes, Brian struck twice and missed twice in this game, which is unusual. As we said before, he is one of the better strikers around. He doesn't strike with anything like the ferocity that Paul does, of course, but he's usually pretty accurate. I'm sure he'd be very disappointed to miss that sort of a target.
Paul going back to the same sort of mark that he had the end before last, and see if he learnt anything from his work in that direction. No, he's left it short and wide. Brian is planning not to be short, but he's missed the line and therefore is going to be a long, long way past and out.
Slipped underneath just as he did the last time they were there, and I think Paul won it with a side bowl.
Just a foot short on length.
It's the second time they've gone on this particular mark in the jack in that area, and of the 6 bowls that have finished so far, and including this one with 7, every bowl has finished at least a yard underneath the jack. They all slipped under. Surely Brian's going to try one a little bit higher now and try and count one 2 foot on the top side.
Well, he's narrowed the approach.
He's not pleased with that.
He's narrowed it too much. Well, I think it's anybody's guess who's nearest here.
There actually wasn't a lot wrong with the road there. It's just pegged away the last yard, but Brian's fallen into the trap there that most beginners tend to fall into. He's concentrating so much on his road there that he's paid not enough attention to his length and has just drifted out possibly.
Once again, the Ashcroft family come on with the strings.
Touching now.
No touching.
Yeah.
Right.
Touching now.
This ball's in. Duncan, 1.
And Brian Duncan's last delivery. 1 in the end. 3 chalks in it. It's Brian Duncan, who came to this final with a bit of a nervous game against Wayne Phillips, and he just got out of jail at the back end. Took out the amazing Handy Andy Cairns. Had a tremendous tussle with Robert Hitchin, of course, and then ended the dreams of L.Pritchatt, the first lady to reach a semi-final here in the Bass. Ended her dreams 21-14. Brian needs another yard of running on his first bowl. Just as well, it's won it bang on a length. Paul, a very narrow line. He's well underneath.
Duncan, 1.
Brian Duncan pushing that one up into the far corner, and this would be an opportune moment to pop over to Elton and Roy, because they'll be having a close-up view of this end.
Yeah, we're right on top of it, Hugh. Brian hasn't really found a length so far, Roy, has he?
No, he's changed the peg into this corner. He's found a length here. He's playing finger peg and kept the jack well on the green. We're something like 5 yards into the green here, and it's a mark where if you're not careful the balls will slip under, just slip below. I think that's what's happened to Paul here.
Of course, another reason that he wants to put as much distance between the mat and the block is that it will make it more difficult for Paul to use his ultimate weapon, the frightening, ferocious firing shot.
Absolutely, yes, that we haven't seen that yet. But of course, when Paul's led the jack, that's the reason the players call Brian Duncanny. He's got this Duncanny habit of picking up the speed from the player's delivery.
I mean, this is a good end to win for Paul, isn't it? I mean, it's there, but
he's changed his peg here, but he's on the low side.
Yeah.
He'll leave 2 here. Yes, Brian's got 2 here. So he'll go back up into the commentary position corner now.
Duncan, 2.
Yes, well called, Roy. So there we are, all square as they play away from us and towards Hugh.
Thanks, Elton. It's, as we've said, that we're looking vertically down on this mark. Distance of some, what, 42, 45 yards perhaps? It's incredible that anybody can hurl this little, well, I was going to say round object. It isn't round because it doesn't run straight. There's no way it'll run straight. And you get the all the imperfections of the green, the rises, the valleys, working against the bowl anyway. And to be able to get the bowl that close from that distance really is something special. You get two of them that close, well, Paul just putting some extra running in the bowl, not firing, and something's going to happen. And what it is just a promotion of the shot bowl, and in actual fact there's two there now. Twos back to back for Brian Duncan.
Two.
So 9-7 the lead.
Every time you start your car from cold, it takes a while for your engine to get full protection from its oil. Metal grinds against metal. The damage is permanent. Castrol GTX Magnatech works differently. Unique polarized molecules cling like a magnet, dramatically reducing engine wear. Protect from the moment you turn the key with GTX Magnatech, the new oil from Castrol.
Enjoy a day at Drayton Manor Family Theme Park. From the balloon race to the Flying Dutchman. From the Sky Flyer to the Gallopers. From Splash Canyon to the Buffalo Roller Coaster. It's all at Drayton Manor Family Theme Park, where everything is one long scream.
Now then, we've got 1 hour. The old flag. It's a jam donut. Clean it.
Clean it. Clean it. Clean it.
When you've one flag, 1 hour and one chance, Persil, now with its new stain release system, gets clothes brilliantly clean.
Thanks, Woodall.
Thanks, Mutton. Thanks, Scrubby. Thanks, Mum.
Free for 1 whole year. Up to 5 years free credit or 100% cash back in 5 years. Plus 5-year guarantee and free stool and cushions. Only from the Sofa Company. Frighteningly good deals. See Teletext page 686.
Mr. Muscle window cleaner is specially formulated with added vinegar for a streak-free shine on all glass surfaces. Mr. Muscle loves the jobs you hate.
American Express, how may I help you?
Whatever suits you.
There are relevant offers on your bill.
This month there's one for a garden centre.
I've arranged a new credit card for you. It lets you spread payments over time. Or perhaps you prefer our charge card.
Don't worry, we'll get that replacement card to you before you leave on your business trip.
Would it help to move your billing date? To the beginning.
To the middle of the month?
Whatever's best for you.
Because we know everyone is different, we help you do more.
Are you in the know about Cheerios?
I know I like them.
What about nutrition? Corn, oats, rice, and wheat. For great nutrition and not too sweet.
What, in one cereal?
Heaven only in Cheerios.
You know that?
I know that.
Are you in the know about Cheerios?
pushed that out quite a long way. The block is no more than 1.5 yards from the edge of the ditch. And it really is a big push up into that corner. Way short. The positioning of this block means that Brian is demanding that P.Strutt push his bowl out. And if he pushes it too far, it'll go in the ditch.
Gave it a fair old heave, that one, Hugh. 2 bowls to pass.
That'll do, you know. That's going to win it if it stops.
Chances.
I think that's won it. Yes. So just 1 in it. (9-8). P.Strutt comes away from the diagonal and again looks for a mark sort of halfway along this right-hand edge of the green, the Liverpool Road side of the green. I suppose that's understandable to a certain extent, John, that he had to push one out a very, very long way at the previous end.
Well, it does affect your length. It's not easy when you're chopping and changing down from 50 odd yards down to 35.
Well, the Maestro's made it again with the assistance of the blue bowl. Oh dear, you left that one on the mat. And I think David Fishwick, the referee, having a quiet word with P.Strutt for what could be construed as stamping. Not allowed to get within 1 metre of the running bowl. Though I've never ever been persuaded that stamping makes very much difference to the travel of a bowl.
It makes the players feel a bit better, if nothing else.
I think that was a little frustration from Paul then, because he knew he'd played 2 bad balls at that end.
So Brian with a 2 chalks advantage. He's the first man into double figures. Brian Duncan had a remarkable record in this Bass Masters. He so often fails at the very first hurdle, and if he gets past that, he charges on towards the final. 82 he was out in the first round, 83 he was out in the first round, 84 he won it, 85 he lost the final, 86 out in the first round, 87 out in the first round, 88 out in the first round, managed to get 2 games in 89, 90 when he wins it, 91 he's out in the first round, 92 he wins it, 93 he wins it, and the last couple of years, 94 and 95, he just went out in the second round. Collision
Duncan
went against P.Strutt. So 11-8 score in Duncan's favour, and right behind the bowler Brian Duncan is Elton and Roy again.
Yes, the most unpredictable Bass Masters I think I can ever recall, going back to 1982. But it just looks to me, Roy, as if Brian's got the measure here.
Well, I think what's happened this year is Brian is desperately striving to bury the bogey of this green. And these corners in which he's playing now, I know he's spent about 2 hours on Monday practicing this particular corner with his old friend Norman Fletcher, who's done very well in this competition in these corners. And I think what Brian's doing now is reaping the benefit of all the practice time spent with Norman.
Having said that, Paul, in the last 2 ends, this one and the one before, although he didn't count in the one before, has finally got the length right.
Well, Paul's playing really well. Apart from the penultimate end where both of them played badly, he's doing okay, yeah.
Well, you've got a better look at that head of bowls, Hugh, than we have. How do they stand down there?
Well, from my money, I think that last bowl of Brian Duncan's has just won it, but I'm just waiting.
That ball.
Well, there you go. David Fishwick says he's not absolutely certain.
He has a problem because he took the option then of a strike, didn't he? But he's put some running in the bowl, semi-strike.
He likes it.
Doesn't want to hit it too hard. Well, I think it's one.
Stop one.
Yes, it is. That was a fairly dodgy delivery, in actual fact. He could have come badly unstuck with that. Didn't you think so, John? It could have come badly against him.
Well, it was a brave ball and it paid off. Fortune favours the brave, as they say, and he's reaping the benefits now. He's able to select the mark he wants to play, and he'll be looking for a good lead to re-establish his sort of pattern of play on the game, because the last few ends, Brian's starting to dominate and dictate the play, and he needs to get himself reasserted a little bit, Paul.
Well, that's a fair lead that Paul has put up. And that's a fair reply from Brian. Just made the contact, but not a full contact. If he'd made a full contact, he'd have counted. Needs to run another yard, and it won't.
Only one.
Brian can find the same bowl again as his first. Will count. No.
Strutt.
One.
10
to P.Strutt. 11 to Brian Duncan. Paul with an extra mouth to feed these days. Little baby Isabel, born back in March. What does that make her? 6 months old? Wife Janet, I think, has Isabel here today. Who was busily sleeping when Dad was doing the business in the semi-final. Not going to arrive. That's looking tidy. Didn't bend enough at back end.
Sure, Brian's contemplating having a do at those. He's probably, yes. They're fairly close together, so if he does one, he might do them both.
Oh, what's the last thing he wanted?
Strutt 2.
Dreadful piece of striking by Brian's standards. John, have a look at this.
Well, he was never really on target there. He's done his own. It didn't really matter. He was 2 down anyway, but he's 0 for 3 from striking Brian, which is a very poor record from his point of view. When twice, it's when Paul's been lined 2 chalks, so there's 4 chalks that Paul's managed to pick up there with Brian missing strikes.
Well, as we look at Paul setting this new mark, Mike, I think you've got the 2 beaten semi-finalists. I wonder what their feelings are about this particular match at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with Dave. Dave, this is an important passage of play, I think, for P.Strutt, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Paul's done well, really, last few ends. I mean, he's 8-3 down. He's come back, well, he's gone in front now, 12-11. He's just broken Brian's rhythm up a bit in the corners. So, you know, Paul's got a hell of a chance now, going all the way.
Lynn, as you found out, though, you can, well, never write Brian Duncan off, can you?
No, he's a tremendous player, and wherever you take him, he is difficult to beat. And Paul's just got to stick at it, really, and if he continues to bowl well, but you can't write Brian off at all, no.
What would you say Paul's best chances are against Brian here now, Lynn?
Well, obviously, Brian is a master in the corners.
Duncan 1.
Pegged his Paul's lead back very well, sort of playing the longer marks, and Paul probably needs to cut the green up a little bit and taking him 2 ends to get back in the corners.
We shall see whether it happens. Back to you, Hugh.
That was Dave McDermott and Lynn Pritchatt, beaten individually by these two chaps on the green at the moment. And there we go, 12-12. This match still to be won. 9 chalks required by one of these two. 9 chalks for 75,000 quid. And to have your name engraved on the Bassmasters Crown Green Classic Trophy. A trophy which has 15 winners' names on it. No, it doesn't, in fact. Although we've had 15 winners, we've only got 10 names on the trophy. Brian Duncan, who's won it 4 times, and my mate in the corner here, John Bancroft, who's won it twice.
A long time ago, Hugh.
Well, what did it mean to you, John, to win this trophy the first time?
It's tremendous, it's tremendous.
First
I mean,
ball is a foot, the second one's 3.
it's an experience. This competition, together with the Waterloo, were classed as the 2 biggest.
Hey, wait a minute, look at this. Hey! P.Strutt. That's the first strike we've seen from him. Well, you warned that he can hit one hard, John. Oh, look at that one. Bang on the target.
Hugh, he played in a game last week, he was telling me, and he struck 12 times, and he hit 12 times. And now we're 12 across.
Well, we've had some fairly ferocious striking here. Well, the kids who have ambitions, I'm sure, to get out there one of these days with bowls in their hands and show what they can do. And that's when they get to start to get interested in this great game of crown bowls. As little boys, 8, 9 years old, and then with encouragement, who knows, they could be doing their stuff out here one of these days. Well, that's just a fraction closer than Brian's, but I don't think that's going to be a winning bowl. Well, Paul doesn't intend to be short.
Every chance.
Every chance of a winning bowl there. Yes, sir. Right on the button. Well, we anticipated a very, very tight, tense final at the end of a great week of crown bowls. And we're certainly getting it.
So far, every time Paul's come on this particular mark down towards the Liverpool road side of the green, he's countered. So he's banking on playing another good lead, which he's done, putting Brian under a little bit of pressure.
Yes, that bowl almost turned a right-angled right turn at the end of its travel.
Well, there's just a little bit of a basin there, and the bowls will just hold if you're a little bit narrow, or as Paul's was, you're a little bit to back, they'll just finish for you at the finish.
That's close on being a superb second. Wow. Two to beat Brian.
I'm sure normally Brian would have struck at those, but with him missing so regularly so far, he's played for 1.
Needs a contact. Oh. And he's dropped 2.
Strutt 2.
15-12. P.Strutt in front. And there's Janet, that's Paul's wife, and little baby Isabel, 6 months old. Really couldn't care less what Daddy's up to out on the green. Yeah, she's sweet, isn't she? Proud Dad striding away there. Hey, he's eager and up for it now.
He's quite unfazed by Duncan's reputation, Hugh. He was looking forward to this game with no fear at all.
Well, they're like that, the Strutt family. The family from Diggle. Well done, Brian.
I know what he'd do with this normally. I think he's going to have a go, Hugh. Good
yes,
target.
He is. Yes, he is. Here it goes. the big guns. Oh, a miss. Very nearly took off referee David Fishwick's right foot, but Brian every chance of pinching 2 back here. He's after the other bowl, just needs to knock it out, which he does, and scores himself 2. That was a perfectly delivered weighted bowl. Just enough running to make contact with the first bowl of P.Strutt's, knock it out, drop down and count 2. So Brian is now looking down to a mark right below our commentary position, and if he wins on this end, you could bet that he'll be back up towards the scoreboard, the sort of left-hand side of the player's hut. And that first bowl, a cracking lead. Brian, Waterloo winner 5 times, would dearly love to make it 5 in the Bass as well. And with bowls like that, who's to say he won't? P.Strutt has left his bowl on the mat, and he's walked quite a distance away from the footer to have a look at things.
Just be checking how far the bowls are from each other. I'm sure it's in the back of his mind here. He'd like to have a strike at this, try and clear the jack off the green, or possibly even remove both of Brian's bowls.
Well, I hope the jack doesn't fly in that direction, because that would make a nasty dent in the trophy. Here he goes. Got him. Got him. What a strike. What a strike. 2 beauties against him. Fabulous strike. Right on the target. Leaves one of his own bowls on the green. Look at this, John.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. He worked out they could just see the outside edge of Brian's bowl. Knew he'd do them both if he got contact with that one, and sure enough they both disappeared into the gutter. It's a great strike, that, from Paul. That might just turn the game in Paul's favour, because not only is striking a good weapon with Paul, striking is a barometer for the rest of his play, really. If he strikes well, the rest of his game picks up.
Sets the blood racing around his body and warms him up for the battle that still lies ahead. 2 chalks advantage now to Paul.
He's really up for that. That's the first bowl that he's trotted up after. That's a sign that he's beginning to see that winning line. He must start fancying it now.
Brian wants to see this one finish, and he's happy with it. Very happy indeed. And that, I don't know, but that could be an invitation for yet another cannonball to come flying up there.
Any contact on the bowl?
That's what it is.
Yep. It's going to take the jack.
David Fishwick, rather slowly. Watch out for our cameraman. He's got it. And the jack's in the ditch, right under the nose of our cameraman down there. He's unbelievable, Brian.
Well, that is some strike, because he can only see the bowl, but he's worked it out. Any contact on the bowl, the jack goes. And of course he starts again, doesn't he? Yeah. He's got his position, he's got the jack. This game, John, you've got to win the game twice over against this fella.
Yeah, they say striking win matches, and in Paul's case it certainly does. He's a fearsome hitter, really, and I mean, even though it's Brian Duncan who's seen it all before, there's no doubt it doesn't settle you as an opponent. It niggles you. You keep thinking, I'm playing all these good bowls and they keep ending up in the gutter. It's very frustrating. You've just got to try and put it out of your mind and keep playing them.
Well, but L.Pritchatt was the one for that sort of thing. You stick them on, I'll knock them off. Said that to David Bryant the first time he played him at Super Bowl on flat. He thought that's the way you played the game.
He's buzzing now, Paul. A couple of good strikes, and the tempo, his tempo of the game has picked up tremendously.
Now, Brian.
Why is he asking about 1 or 2, John? Is he contemplating it?
I'm sure
it's only one, Brian.
Oh, he's playing it.
He's playing with weight though. He's going to try and rest on something, I'm sure, here.
It's too fast for the buyers to do anything for him.
Strutt 1.
So that winning post now, and he 4 chalks away. 17-14.
Wife.
Gail and
Gail there. Daughter.
And
grandson.
Lindsay. Yeah, he's a grandfather these days, is Brian. Right. Jacob, 2 years old. And, Granddad Duncan, he's got some business to do. Well short.
Just give up.
Well, there could be some celebrations in the Strutt household tonight. Sister Debbie, Father Ken are equally good bowlers, of course. Father Ken, a renowned bowler, having success at every level of the game. Certainly last year at the Waterloo Green. Yeah, well bowled, Brian. To Peneth. He's not gone yet. The gap closed to 1 chalk. And Brian goes off into that right-hand corner as we look down on the green. And this is an end that he will really want to win on, because he's got the great chance then of going back in the opposite direction. Don't think that's got the legs. The 2 here would turn the game upside down. Well, it's counting 2 at the moment, but it's an odds-on that Paul will either win it or cut the count down.
Paul's got a problem though. He's just got to miss those front 2 balls there. They're slightly in the way. He's just got to avoid a contact.
He's won it. I tell you, he is really on song. 18-16, the lead of Paul Strutt. And already his mind is turning over quietly, though probably pushing it to the back of his mind as what he might do with 7,500 quid at the end of this day. Paul on a mark that he has shown good form on so far this afternoon. That was exactly the right line, but lacked, 2 feet, 2.5 feet of running.
This was actually the mark that he beat David McDermott on in the semi-finals. He played them very close, just coming in this direction.
It's caught Brian out.
Yes.
He was down below the line. Paul waiting for some information from David Fishwick, our referee. Well, that road looks well nigh perfect.
Duncan's got to save few, hasn't he? Otherwise, if it's 2 against him at this end.
He's certainly saved. Just the one.
Yeah. On to you.
1 to Strutt.
1916. Well, you just wonder in certain respects now whether Brian has, I don't say used up all his luck, but you look back his game against Robert Hitchin, his game against Wayne Phillips. He was pushed right to the wire and only just made it with a couple of wonder bowls.
Yeah, but that's the trademark of Brian Duncan. He plays the big bowls. When he's asked the question, he's been replying because he is the master bowler. The unfortunate thing, Hugh, in all this is that P.Strutt can't be here. He's away playing in a final 8. Couldn't make it.
Oh, that's the Dulux, I think.
At Walston, and Paul and Brian should have been there too. But an unfortunate clash of fixtures means they can't do both. Fortunately for us, they're here.
Indeed.
Bowling out the skins. Now then, Brian.
And what a super final we're getting too. This Brian is back in business. Is he going to get a 2 here? It's given up. Not going to get there.
Duncan 1.
He wants 2 out of this end, if he can possibly get them.
No margin for error now, and that's very unusual against Brian Duncan.
Gosh, he's pushed that an awful long way. That can't be more than 4 foot from the ditch. And it's all downhill once you pass this block. What a well-judged delivery. It's all about weight now. It needs to stop. And it did.
That's won it.
Yeah, that's won it. Well, I thought that might have rolled on into the ditch.
I thought his line was tight.
He's just going across.
That's in the ditch.
They stay on, John. No, put the peg out.
That's gone. Hey, he can get 2 here and win it.
He's just got to be a little careful. The bowls do tend to slide underneath. If he just touches Brian's, he'll knock him in. But he's on a tighter line. He's okay with this.
Could be 7,500 quid on this bowl, but no, it's on its way to the ditch.
Got the road right, but he missed his line.
But what it amounts to is P.Strutt, 27 years old, from Diggle, Saddleworth, Oldham, is all but 17. He's got one hand on the check and the fabulous trophy of the Bassmasters Crown Classic. There'll be 1 or 2 bookmakers around this green now who are dreading what's going to happen in about the next 10 minutes.
He's not going to let go that easily, is he? But yeah, they're going to get a caning because they've been backing Strutt and Strutt and Strutt. They know a little something. That's the crowd.
Oh, too tight, Paul. Way too tight.
I think the tension's just told a little bit on those with Paul. He's just tightened up, I think, in his shoulder, possibly.
Who's on, John?
I think Paul's in with 1.
Yes,
Brian's got plenty of room.
There you go.
Won't be sure.
There you go.
There.
Well,
Brian Duncan left it short. P.Strutt has won the 1996 Bassmasters Crown Green Classic. He's taken on the biggest name in Crown Green bowls, and he's beaten him fair and square here on this green at the Riggs Hall Hotel by 4 clear chalks, 21-17. As good a game of bowls as you're ever likely to see. Certainly as good a final as we've seen for a long time. And the pair of them now explaining to each other what he did, what I did, and how it happened. And Paul doesn't really care what happened. He has won the trophy, and he's won £7,500.
Well, what an absolutely marvellous final, ladies and gentlemen, don't you agree? And we've got a new name to go on the trophy, haven't we? But first of all, let's welcome back and give him a big round of applause. What a tournament he's had. So many escapes, but he couldn't quite manage it this afternoon. A cheque for £3,500. The runner-up, 4 times previously a winner of the Bassmasters, B.Duncan. Well, you still haven't won here, but tell you what, he gave you a good game, didn't he?
He did. It was a good game, really. I mean, at the end of the day, Paul has certainly struck a lot better than I have. I mean, he must have knocked me at least half a dozen off, and that's the name of the game.
I mean, what goes through your mind when you're thinking, well, you know, all I can do is reach, all I can do is get there and put the, you know, the bowl on the block, and then up he comes and knocks it off like a gunslinger, isn't he? Well,
he knocked a few off, like. I think I missed a couple early on. I just said to him, next time there's a strike come for me, you have a go for me, like. He said, well, it's exactly the same. He said, I'm knocking yours off and you're knocking off as well, so that's how it went.
Brian, you'll certainly be back next year. Ladies and gentlemen, B.Duncan. Now, the first time I did this was back in 1982, and I'd just been talking to P.Strutt's dad, Ken, who was the losing finalist last year, that particular year. Now, his son has finally done what he failed to achieve on 2 occasions, and that is win the Bassmasters. Would you welcome our new champion, who'll get the trophy and a cheque for £7,500, P.Strutt. Well, you weren't too talkative beforehand, and we understand why. Now, what are you going to tell us?
I don't know if I've got any words left, to be honest. Obviously, very pleased with the way I've played. I've struck well. I think you've emphasised that point enough this week. And Brian's just been a little bit unlucky at some ends, so I'm just pleased, yeah.
For those who might have missed it in previous days, we did talk about your firing power, and I think you were very modestly said that it is sort of your ultimate weapon, because technically you might not be as good as some of the guys, but when it comes to firing, you are the best.
I don't know about that, but...
well, everyone here believes it.
I've got a pretty high success rate, yes, but I mean, what can you do when Brian's putting them in here? You don't play to beat them, so I have a go at knocking them off.
Tell you what, you played some precision bowls yourself as well.
I played some good length bowls, yes.
You're delighted?
Absolutely.
Well, you won't have got through to Dad yet because he's playing elsewhere today.
Yeah, with a bit of luck, he'll have won the Dulux Classic at Walsden as well, so that'd be nice.
A family double?
Hopefully, yes.
Absolutely fantastic. A new champion, P.Strutt. Laurie's over there with a trophy and you cheque for £7,500. You know the routine. You pocket the cheque, you pick up the cup, and you show it to the crowd. I think a very popular winner too. P.Strutt. So there we go, the greatest moment in bowls to win the Bassmasters, our champion for 1996, P.Strutt. It's been a great week. Thanks to everybody at the Rakes. Hope you've all enjoyed it at home. Bye-bye.